7 a.m. Our Zoom is alive, so we're going to go ahead and call this meeting of the TAMC Board of Directors to order. Recognizing that we have a forum, we're going to go to Eloise and ask for a roll.
District 1 Supervisor Alejo.
Alternate Gomez here.
District 2 Supervisor Church. District 3 Supervisor Lopez.
Here.
District 4 Supervisor Askew.
I'm here.
District 5 Supervisor Adams.
Here.
City of Carmel by the Sea.
Here, kind of.
City of Del Rey Oaks.
Here.
City of Gonzales.
Here.
City of Greenfield.
Here.
City of King City.
Present.
City of Marina.
Here.
City of Monterey.
Here.
City of Pacific Grove.
Here.
City of Salinas. City of Sand City. Here. City of Seaside.
Here.
City of Soledad.
Here.
AMPAG.
Here.
Caltrans District 5. Monterey Bay Air Resource District.
Here.
Monterey Regional Airport District.
Carl Miller here.
Monterey Salinas Transit.
Here.
City of Watsonville. CSUMB.
Here.
Chair, we do have quorum.
Thank you very much. Making it strong. Our council, you mind leading us in the pledge this morning? Being it on. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And that's what Taylor Swift feels like singing in the round. Okay, with that, we're going to open our public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to share comments regarding items not on today's agenda, but within the purview of this body. We invite folks to use the raise hand function via Zoom or come towards the dais and room. You'll have 2 minutes to share those comments with this board. I see no one coming forward in room.
I'd like to make a comment.
I'm going to go to the hands up first. I see a hand up from a number that begins with 509 and ends in 2082. We'll give you the opportunity to unmute yourself and share your comment. *9 via landline.
Hello?
Yep, there you
Hello?
go. Hello.
Okay. This is your chance to kill the train forever in Monterey, but there's one hitch. You need to prove the SURF project has an environmental, social, economical, and technical advantage.
That item
Hello?
when we get to the item on the agenda. That item is on today's agenda.
I thought you said it was public comment time.
For items not on today's agenda.
That's right. And so this is not on the agenda, is it?
This item is on the agenda today.
I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'd like to continue with a public comment then.
Sure, we'll go ahead and reset your clock to 2 minutes.
Thank you. Board members, it is vital that you do not kill the train. You need to use Biden's money to bring it back. The only way we're going to stop the terrible congestion of traffic that we are seeing from the tourist industry is by train. A friend of mine recently who takes the Starlight, the Coast Starlight, from Jack London Square to Monterey to Salinas has been cut from 2 times a day to 1. What has TAMC been doing these last 4 years when you've had this incredible opportunity to use Biden's transportation money to bring back the train? You have done nothing. You have okayed a SURF project which is badly designed and is not going to fly. We have a global warming emergency and you're all acting like ostriches. This is urgent that you turn around and for the people, because the people are the smartest people, and they are saying to you, we don't want the SURF, we want the train, and we will love you for it. And shame on Senator Laird and Panetta for going along with this. I can't vote for these people anymore, and that's tragic. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Mr. Stump. Mr. Stump, the floor is yours. You've got 2 minutes.
Thank you. It's on the Highway 68 project. Good morning. It's been 4 months since the TAMC board voted unanimously in April to recommend that Caltrans install AI adaptive signal controls at all 9 intersections along this Highway 68 corridor to determine how it will impact the traffic flow and clarify if this new technology will be better solution than the 9 roundabouts. I understand that Caltrans District 5 has been working with Caltrans headquarters and the product vendors to determine which is the best system to use in this application and what the existing Caltrans budget would allow. The total cost for 9 intersections is still reported to be in the range of $400,000 to $600,000, depending on which vendor is selected. What is the current status of the AI adaptive signal controls decision and installation? And is it being delayed by the lack of Caltrans funds or by the decision-making process of Caltrans? While I understand that TAMC would prefer that the project be funded by Caltrans, is the board willing to approve the use of a portion of Measure X funds that are currently available for this project to fund this AI adaptive installation? Has the TAMC staff communicated with the board to ask for approval of funds for this adaptive signal project? While similar adaptive signals projects are currently being installed in neighboring counties to take advantage of this technology, Highway 68 is still waiting for it to be used to immediately help the local community. Why is this happening, and what is the reason for the delay? I urge the TAMC board and staff to work together with Caltrans to clarify the funding status and to supply the necessary funds to immediately move this project forward if Caltrans does not have the funds itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stump. I'm going to continue down here, but I want to remind folks, this is not the time to talk about the train. If your concern is about the project that is on our agenda later, those are not the comments we're taking now. This is for public comment on items not on today's agenda. With that, I'm going to go to Mike Moyer. Mike, the floor is yours. You can unmute yourself. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, thanks. This is going to be kind of a gray area. I'm not exactly talking about the train, though. I am talking about the lease for the handcar company that's expiring in October of 24. If you would please consider renewing their lease until we get this worked out, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We're going to go to Daniel Hollingsworth next. Daniel?
I just want to make sure we have a chance to address the Torero Road closure. I see it's item 10 on the director's report. Do we wait until that time?
That would be the best time to address it, because it is listed in the report, I believe.
I'll wait for that.
Okay, thank you.
No, I'm sorry, it's not. No. It's not on our it's not on the agenda.
So, okay, Mr. Hollingsworth.
Okay, thank you. Board members, I live on Torero Court, which is right off of Torero Drive. My daily commute has increased by about 20 minutes going to work and to drop my kid off at school every day. On the way to work, I take the Portola off ramp. There are people doing U-turns onto the, or I take the on ramp. There are people taking U-turns on the off ramp right there. And there are still people cutting through Sierra Village. So in the morning, I'm getting a line of about 30 cars before I'm even able to get on the highway. And it takes about 15 minutes for me to even get back to Torero Drive. My wife works in Marina. Her commute has increased as well. She leaves a little bit later, but she gets stopped at the same intersection because the Toro Estate residents are unable to get past that intersection because of the influx of cars. There hasn't been any outreach, at least to me, my neighbors and people I know in the community, about how this has impacted our day-to-day lives. I just feel like there should be a better solution. I know that one of our local businessmen, Ignacio Lopez of Lopez Liquors, was approached to speak in favor of the closure, and Mr. Lopez he's not impacted at all. He gets to work after 9 o'clock, he leaves after rush hour, and I was confused as to why a county representative would solicit him to speak in favor of the continued road closure when it didn't impact him at all. So I'd urge the board to initiate more community outreach so that everybody who is impacted by the road closure is heard, and there hasn't been any change in the actual traffic on 68. It's backed up past the bridge over the Salinas River every morning at 7:15. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hollingsworth. I'm gonna go to a phone number next ending in 2837. Star 9 should unmute. Make sure this is speaking.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
You know, I know the surf and the rail isn't later on the agenda, but there are aspects of rail that aren't on the agenda, and that's what I want to speak about. I was just up in Marin County, and they have about 250,000 people living in Marin County, and they put in a splendid new rail system, and it continues into Sonoma County that has about 50,000 more people than Monterey County. And a lot of the funding is related to the population level. If Marin County can do it, so can Monterey County, because the rail is the only thing that's really going to bypass traffic for more than a few miles. And unless you want to turn it all into 3 lanes, it's just going to be too expensive. So I really encourage you to work on rail, make it happen, have a can-do attitude. Okay, I'll see you later in the surf comment, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. All right. I see no more hands up via Zoom. If you can't raise your hand but wish to speak, now would be the time to unmute yourself and let us know. Hearing none, seeing nobody else coming forward in room, we'll go ahead and close public comment and proceed forward. Our next item is our consent agenda. I know that I need to pull 3.4.1 for a separate vote. Are there any other items this board wishes to pull or comment on? Dave, I've got them.
I have a brief question on 3.47. Would you prefer the question or pulling it?
Go ahead and ask your question though.
In regards to Monterey Branch Line, PG&E easements to get into the SORC project zone. And my question briefly is, and does this mean that PG&E may go in and start doing groundwork that would that would preclude the hand cars from operating before SURF had its approvals?
No, this is just to get the legal document, the easement in place.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
All right. Anyone else? See nobody at the table. We'll see if anybody in the public wishes to pull an item from our consent calendar. I see nobody in room. I'm going to go to Zoom, and I do see a hand up that has just disappeared. 2082, did you want to pull an item from consent for comment or question? Okay.
Yeah, I'll pull my comment. Thank you.
All right, coming back here, is there a motion to approve our consent calendar less item 3. Blank on the number.
So moved.
0.1. All right, I've got a motion.
I'll second.
In a second. We have folks on Zoom, so I'm going to go ahead and ask that we get a roll call vote on that.
District 1 alternate Gomez,
Aye.
District 2 Supervisor Church.
Aye.
District 3 Supervisor Lopez.
Aye.
District 4 Supervisor Askew. Aye. District 5 Supervisor Adams. Aye. City of Carmel by the Sea.
Aye.
City of Del Rio.
Aye.
City of Gonzales.
Aye.
City of Greenfield. City of King City.
Aye.
City of Marina.
Yes.
City of Monterey.
Aye.
City of Pacific Grove.
Aye.
City of Salinas.
Aye.
City of San City. Aye. City of Seaside.
Aye.
City of Soledad.
Aye.
Chair, the motion is unanimous.
Thank you, Eloise. Next up, we have item 341. Is there a motion to approve?
I'm gonna leave the room for just a moment.
Yeah. 341. Is there a motion on 341? I've got a motion. Is there a second? I've got a motion and a second. Ask you on the bar. And I'm going to ask for another roll call vote.
District 1, Supervisor Alejo.
Aye.
District 2, Supervisor Church.
Aye.
District 3, Supervisor Lopez. District 4, Supervisor Askew. Aye. District 5, Supervisor Adams.
Aye.
City of Carmel by the Sea.
Aye.
City of Del Rio.
Aye.
City of Gonzales.
Aye.
City of Greenfield. Aye. City of King City.
Aye.
City of Marina.
Yes.
City of Monterey.
Aye.
City of Pacific Grove.
Aye.
City of Salinas.
Aye.
City of Sand City.
Don't you still have somebody?
The City of Seaside.
Aye.
City of Soledad.
Yes.
Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Yeah, but she didn't have to leave, did she?
She wanted to, I think.
Okay, I'm just-
Yeah, that's all appearances. If there's any questions.
I would stay.
Thank you.
All right, if anybody sees LeVar, send him back soon. All right, we're gonna proceed. The next item up is 4 to present the transportation agency employee of the quarter. Go ahead. Let's turn that over to Todd to present.
Thank you. The employee for this quarter is hereby certified that Doug Bilsey has been selected by his colleagues at the Transportation Agency for Monterey County as the employee of the quarter for April 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2024. The agency employees recognize Doug for his great attitude, his professionalism, and his willingness to help his colleagues. Most notably, they appreciate him for his engineering expertise on the Toro Park project and for his outreach on the US 101 and State Route 68 projects. On behalf of the Board of Directors and staff of the Transportation Agency for Monterey County, it is our pleasure to recognize Doug Bilsey for his exemplary service.
Let's give him a round of applause. Come this way, Doug. We're gonna photo you. It's a frameable. All right, is there any public comment on this side? Oh, we'll go to the board first. Mary.
Thank you. I did want to make just a couple of brief comments about Doug. I'm very thankful. He is so deserving of this award. I have worked with him on a couple of projects, the most recent one with a really tricky issue in the Toro Park residence area. And he has just put so much time and thought and effort into it that I think it's absolutely appropriate that his colleagues and the rest of us have honored him by being employee of the quarter. And I really just personally thank you for the good temper that you always bring to these meetings, in addition to your organizational and leadership skills. So thank you so much. Well deserved.
All right, let's take a stop and see if there's any public input on this presentation. Come forward, give him a minute.
Just real quick, my name is Eric Peterson. I've been around TAMC, as most of you know, for quite a while. Can we start doing this monthly? There is enough good work done by TAMC people to do this monthly. And that would be a nice change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. See no one else in the room. We'll go to Zoom. I do see a hand up from number 2837. Again, on the employee of the quarter presentation to Doug Bilsey. We'll go ahead and give you this ability to unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
This is Brian Rosen. I spoke with Doug Bilsey at length about the surf project. I will give it to him that he will spend a lot of time explaining things to the public, or at least promoting the TAMC viewpoint. He conceded to me on the phone that a carpool lane might work. And he was also very concerned about losing money to the county and that it's difficult to transfer money with, and that we need to keep money in the county and all of that. But then when I asked him for transparency about the surf project, how many railroad tracks would be removed? I said, I need documents. And then he laughed that I wouldn't be able to understand it. And I'm just very disturbed at the attitude that we can't really have transparency to the public. I remember with Dr. Gromko, when he ran the agency, we all went to the site and he explained things to us, and nobody do that. And I brought that issue up to Doug, because take us out to the site and show us how we can, you know, have room for both the railroad tracks. We want to see it. He's been a big supporter. He may be a really nice man, and you're all going to support your own. You know, the public feels different maybe. They don't like the surf, but Doug does, and he's supporting this very environmentally destructive project. He told me that that the project will predict rail usage. It doesn't make any sense to me to have a few miles of freeway on a very long, slow bus route between Monterey and Salinas, so that's going to be predictive. Very few people will use it, and he's promoting, and they talk down to you, you know, the public, like we're really stupid. And, you know, I mean, it's so obvious it's not going to predict rail usage. So he's maybe a really nice man and will take a lot of time to explain things.
For a time, I'm gonna go to the next number 2082. Number 2082, the floor is yours.
Yes. Can you hear me? Is this regarding Mr. Muck approval to continue as
No.
Executive Director of TAMC?
No, we're on the Doug Bilsey Employee of the Quarter Award.
Okay. Is this having to do with the surf project?
Not at all.
Not at all. I see. Okay. Thank you. I'll withdraw my comment.
Right. Thank you. So I just want to come back to the point of the item and thank you, Doug, for all that you've done for our communities. I'll tell you, the community of Chular is one that often doesn't feel seen or heard in the processes, but you've made sure, as we've gone through a lot of the projects that are currently underway, that their voices are being not just heard, but really amplified in our process. And it means something to our community. So I really want to say thank you to you personally for all that you've done for that community and so many who have to travel the South of Salinas corridor. Your focus on that project and your willingness to continue to keep your foot on the gas pedal is truly appreciated by all my residents in South County, and I want you to know that.
Give another round of applause. I wasn't gonna say anything, but we should end with, he's doing a wonderful job. I don't know him from Adam. You know, I seen him come time, but my point is, we're honoring him today because his peers and his supervisors say he's doing a wonderful job, and we feel the same way. And I don't know personally what project he likes or he doesn't like. He's following the directions of his supervisor and his board. And I think he's doing an excellent job representing us that way. So thank you so much for what you've been doing.
And I just want to express my gratitude for Doug. Worked with him on some outreach to the public too, and I can see he's really been very thorough about doing that with anybody who reaches out. I want to commend him for that as well.
Anyone else? One more round of applause for Doug. All right, having concluded item 4 with that beautiful certificate presentation, unless you want to share a few words with us, Doug?
No.
Okay. We're gonna jump to item 5 and turn it over to you, Doug.
So maybe we had a luncheon Doug was paying for. I've been on a lot of contentious projects, but I didn't know, you know, employee of the quarter was all kidding aside, that this is one of those projects. It's a very complex project. I have Meg Henry from Caltrans as a project manager, and she's done an outstanding job on this project, 101 South of Salinas. I'm assuming most of you know most of the project, but I'll just all right. Okay. So we're just talking about from Salinas to Chular and the safety issues that we have are all related to uncontrolled intersection where people make left turns in, left turns out, then they have to cross the railroad tracks. I think everyone's familiar with that. That doesn't need to be updated. It's all about safety concerns. We have too many of these reports, you know, in the newspaper. I think everybody's heard at least one or two different personal situations where people have died. The fatalities are roughly one a year, and there's a serious collision about once a month there. So we know what we need to do. We just have to find out that solution. So basically, the project is there to address our safety concerns, but we know that the interchanges that are out there in Abbott and Chular are antiquated. We have to do something with there, but we have to do these decisions. As Supervisor Lopez said, it's got to have social equity. We have to have the city or the community of Chular involved in this because it directly impacts them. We also have to take a long-term perspective, you know, look at the whole corridor and see how we're going to put this into other pieces. And we might talk about it a little bit, but you'll see interim and immediate solutions that are separate from this. This is the long-term solution. So with that, the biggest there, one of the key things is talking to our stakeholders. So we've talked to all the people here. We reached out to them. If there's anyone we missed, please let us know. We are willing to talk to anybody, anytime, anywhere. Community outreach, community engagement is something we're committed to. Mega's just done an outstanding job getting to know the property owners. You'll see the picture here, you know, in Chular, we met with the Farm Bureau. They've been a very good conduit to talk to the stakeholders related to the farm industry. We've had workshops. And when we say we're committed, we're really committed. So this is a picture of us going through the tunnel. I didn't even know there was one underneath Highway 101 at Spence. We met out in the field with property owners. Again, Meg set this up where we met property owners on the property, which is a whole different ballgame. They feel a little bit more comfortable, I think, with us when we go out to reach out to them. And this is the commitment here. I mean, Meg's right here. We get on the floor. We're on our hands and knees working on this was just a really neat presentation we did. We had an open house a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And we had properties come in and we just said, hey, let's pull it out there. Let's start drawing. And it's just been an outstanding outreach to get to a solution. So this is the key about this presentation, what we heard. I can give you a lot of diagrams on alternatives we looked at, but what's driving our decision, I think, is what policymakers should be focused on and see if this resonates with everybody. So we need to proactively identify a long-term plan. We don't want to be sitting back and waiting for this to happen, you know, to us. We want to be proactive and push an agenda to get a solution out there so that we know where we want to go for the long term. Minimize the takings of prime ag land. There's just no better prime ag land in probably the world than here. So that is our high priority, but we are working in construction in an area that is served by ag, so it's a balancing act. We have to have adequate access to the property. That's why we meet with the property owners on an extensive basis. We just have to know their needs and what we can do to keep that access, but not get it so that it's a cut through, road with the frontage roads, things like that. The interchanges can't be closed for long. So a lot of people say, why can't you just build the interchanges in place? Well, that would require us to close the interchanges for a long time. So this is driving, these are the things that are driving our decisions. So like, for instance, the interchanges can't be closed for long. That kind of takes out the idea of building in place. So traffic negatively impacts Chular. So that drives our decision to say, you know what, we need to move that interchange away from the community. It's not fair to have a interchange bifurcate a community and have all these trucks coming through your downtown. That's not a quality of life thing that we want to see or we want to address. Airport Boulevard interchange is an issue. It is congested. It is over capacity now. So we don't want to, we want to balance that, but we're not, again, this isn't about solving congestion. This is about safety issues, but we have to take that into consideration. So this is kind of where we're at your level. You should know this, that we are committed to this project, relocating interchange close to Chular. It'll be to the north of Chular. We think, that'll be we're not looking south of Chular. So if we don't build it in place, we would build it to the north. And close enough to the community so that they're not having to go way out of their way. So that's what we heard from the community. And then relocate the interchange close to airport because, and we'll get to it, there's some development that's going on in that area and there's already congestion at airport. So we're driven there, but there is a little bit of a constraint. So let's dive into that a little bit. So here's airport interchange, and it has a unique configuration. So the interchange is really here, but we have this ramp and frontage road here. And what happens, let me go to this issue first. So the Salinas Ag Industry Center, SAIC, I think some of you might have heard in the news that part of that project that was developed approved many years ago as a specific plan of this whole area. But there's news that Amazon might be developing a distribution center here, but it has been approved already, the specific plan. So with that in mind, we realize regardless of Amazon, this area here is going to cause congestion. So we have it's going to cause increased traffic. That's always been in our plan. So this isn't anything new. It's not something that we need to change course. We have already incorporated the traffic. We forecasted for that. The problem is that this is very close to an interchange that's already challenged. So we want to put the interchange close, but we have to have a spacing between these ramps. So that kind of pushes us back, or we make some modifications to this interchange to allow an interchange closer. But that's where we're at. And instead of showing you alternatives and designs at a high level, that's basically where we're at in the project. And just in closing, this is where we're at right here. I think maybe you've seen this before, but the process of a project, you look at the needs assessment and constraints. That's where we're at here. We identify concepts. We go in an iterative cycle. We're going in that cycle now. We work with the community. We listen to them. It's kind of a chicken and an egg, because if we go there with nothing in an open canvas, they say, well, we can't comment. So then we come back with a plan and they go, well, why do we comment? Because you already got it, obviously. So again, hats off to the Caltrans team. They have constantly been going back and again with new concepts, conceptual designs. They're very open to ideas. And I do want to thank Meg for their effort. You have anything to say?
The only thing that I would add, is that as we head into the actual environmental process,
yes,
we are targeting more than one alternative for the Abbott interchange. So Doug has focused in on this location, so there will be one or two other locations heading south toward, but not on top of existing Abbott. So as Doug established, we found that if we went on top of existing Abbott, we'd be looking to close that for 1 to 2 years. So right now that's not in consideration, but we are looking north of there in at least 2 locations, including this one, to study through the environmental process.
And that brings us to here. So before we can get to this next section, this is our next steps. So Meg just teed us up perfectly. We need to identify feasible options, and we want to do that by the end of the year. So we have a lot of different options, but talking to the community, we tossed quite a few up. And I did a good job of explaining. We're down to a few in the north to replace for Abbott, and we're really down to one alternative for Chular other than to build it in place. So it's this interaction with the stakeholders has been really good in focusing our effort, but there still will be more than one alternative, let's say, in there. And we have to do the environmental work, which is probably going to take, we want to start that early next year. It's probably going to take at least 2 years. That's a pretty aggressive schedule. We're going to stay with that aggressive, but it's a challenge. And I think Meg and her team are up for the challenge, but I don't want to set up false hopes. This is really our best case scenario. If we could get the environmental work done by the end of 2026, and then a design for a year, depending on which one we choose. This is.
The design will take a little longer.
Okay, yeah. So it's gonna take there, but just in a nutshell, that's what we're looking at for the long term. And at the same time, there could be some interim improvements. We're looking at how does that fit in with the long-term improvements. So we're always going towards, we know we got to get to the top of the hill. We may take a couple paths for interim or immediate steps, but they all have to line up with our vision for the corridor. So with that, I also want to shout out to Norm Group, who's been a really good leader for his community, the Farm Bureau. They've done a fantastic job helping us coordinate. So there's just a lot of people that have helped us on this. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
We'll bring it back questions.
I just want more clarification on the Amazon site there. You said we're accounting for that, all that traffic?
Yes.
That's. Now, how much traffic is that actually going to be generating out of their employees, trucks and out? I just have concern because it's a big facility and I think it's a hard thing to really get a grasp on. You never know what Amazon really, eventually shifts once they're in there and does. It just seems like it could be a potential problem down the line.
Yeah, and I guess to be specific, SAIC.
To that slide. So
Sure. I had a feeling that would be one of the things we talk about most. So maybe we'll keep it there. Okay, so the whole project was in a specific plan and that was approved, and that's in the AMBAG model. And so when you do forecasts, the AMBAG, I don't even want to go into that, but it's a forecast for traffic. And our challenge is that our project is not there to solve congestion, it's to solve the safety issues. But we also have to address capacity issues. So in a nutshell, the Amazon is here and there is going to be a lot of traffic. We looked at the model, it's reasonable. What they did in the model is reasonable for Amazon. It is a boatload of traffic. That's a technical term, but it is a full boatload of traffic coming in here. We do know it's gonna have issues, but we don't, as TAMC, review and approve projects. That's up to the city. But they did pay into the regional impact fee, which our regional impact fee does have a project identified for US 101 south of Salinas. But I think, your question was, what about Amazon? I used to work at the city of Carlsbad and there was an Amazon distribution being considered there. And it was a very difficult traffic analysis because they're not there with a bunch of employees coming in at 8, work until 4 and leaving. So it's more like a warehouse. So you're gonna have a lot of, the way I look at it is they're gonna fill up all of the capacity option. They're really gonna be, they're gonna have definitely a peak hour issue there with workers, but even more so, they're gonna be going 24/7, 365, I think. So, times where you didn't see traffic, you're gonna see traffic. May not be as bad as the peak hour, but that's just my opinion without having looked at it in depth.
Yeah, that just, it's kind of my concern is that it's a hard one to kind of wrestle and know exactly the full impact on it because the size of the facility, and I understand congestion can actually sometimes be more safe, sometimes not, depending where it is, next to a highway. I just have some concerns of, that we're trying to really look at everything that we can as possible to address it, but hopefully everything works out well. And we'll see.
Yeah. In that one, let's say that there is a lot of semis or trucks going by. On the south side, the only exit to the freeway is under the bridge, very small, one way. So if they want to go north, they have to go through work and then go in the bridge, which is really congested. I work in by the airport in London, and it takes us almost half an hour to go from to me, go from there to cross and go down south. So the other way they can go is through back to Monterey to this side or to Blanco. So when I see this, every day I have to go to the traffic. So how could you separate safety from congestions if it is really difficult in the south, in the airport exit or going south? The exit is completely close to the freeway. It's just you have to just come in and rush to make it. Otherwise, you have to go to the side and literally step on the gas. So I'm having a hard time understanding how could you separate safety from congestion, because that's going to cause a lot of safety issues.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And that's where the balancing goes, is that we don't want to create, like, let's say, queues and issues getting on and off the 101. So you pointed out Abbott interchange here. It doesn't have a southbound exit or a northbound on-ramp. So that's one thing about this project, is by putting in a new interchange, wherever we put it, it will have a lot more capacity than what's out there right now at Abbott.
What is an interchange?
The interchange, the on-ramps.
So a bridge?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So right now there's a bridge under 101. We're gonna go, it definitely has to go over, and it has to have on and off ramps in all directions, which Abbott doesn't right now. You pointed that out. It overloads this because people can't get on in all directions in the Abbott. So, but we now in that design, while we're doing this design, we are gonna look and model and see what it does to this area. And hopefully relieve some of the traffic that's there. But also we're starting to open up the idea that, let's look at if there's something we can do at airport as part of this project. But again, we're not trying to solve congestion. I think it's kind of that's fatal, or not fatal, futile. Sorry, futile effort to try to get ahead of the congestion. So you have to pick where the congestion is and do it safely. So where it queues up, you don't want it to queue back on the freeway. You want it to queue on the side street or the entrances and the ramps. Where the ramp metering, things like that. So I think when we get the designs, I think that's a good point, and we'll highlight that when we actually look at the alternative.
Okay.
One is thank you for the presentation, and I really appreciate Caltrans' work on this. And I just want to also express the importance of the 101 South Safety Alliance, working with the Farm Bureau, and then you keeping the project going. Obviously, I wish this was done yesterday. Of course, we all want to do there. But the fact that it has been elevated to this level now, that we're working on those solutions long-term. And I look forward to seeing what some of those intermediate or immediate relief portion projects could happen. But the long-term are more encouraged now than ever, because our residents in South County are really suffering a lot when it comes to those accidents. And so thank you, Chair, and South Salinas Alliance. Are they here?
Right here.
Oh, they did so much work. Thank you.
And I should have pointed that out. I'm sorry. The TSA, Traffic Safety Alliance, was really what got this project going and kick-started. So, and those stakeholders, I should have highlighted, they are been fantastic, and they've been kind of giving off the mantle to other agencies, and they really are just driving this whole thing. So that's off to them.
We'll go Carl and Chaps.
Thank you. As some of you experienced with the California Transportation Commission tour that we did, we had a near miss incident with a bus load of transit commissioners as a semi cut across the path of our bus, which happens regularly. We've even had safety incidences, a collision between a bus and a big rig. Resulting in, 9 or 10 people being, emergency evacuated out from the freeway. So my thought is that if we can build in some transit safety, parts of this project as well, it might provide some other funding opportunities to you by making it a multimodal safety project rather than just, we can, personal vehicles, freight and transit might make it more desirable for funding in the future. So if we can look at that, I just wanted to bring that to your attention, because sometimes the state and the feds love that multimodal aspect of it. We can also make it safer for our transit riders as well.
That is an aspect that we've been.
Okay, great.
Thank you, and thanks for the presentation, Doug. I don't know if it was intentional or not. You got employee of the quarter, now you're presenting. But I had a question. This seems to be like a multi-project, right? Like in south of Salinas, there are multiple items or projects happening at the same time. So when you have that presentation with the stating that it's going to end by 2026 or 27, are we talking about all those projects that are happening at the same time?
No, this is for the long-term vision. That's the timeline for us to do this. And then on parallel paths, we're working with Caltrans to identify interim or immediate solutions because they're in charge of it. And maybe you can speak to that, but they manage it. So we kind of are the planners for the long term, but they the operating and they manage it. So they may make decisions coordinating with us that are more immediate on parallel paths.
Can I ask a clarification? I'm sorry, chaps. What Doug shared was the schedule for the environmental and design period of the project. When the different components of the project, including 2 major interchanges, are ready for construction, there will be a sequence in making sure those things are aligned and not overly burdening the community, that kind of thing. So all of the potential construction components will be sequenced, and they most likely will not be happening exactly the same. Okay, got it. And potentially there'll be a priority, just like. Yes. Right, that actually answers.
I just want to add one thing for clarification. What we were aiming to do at the end of 2026, but more likely in early 2027, is finish what we call our environmental phase. So that's a requirement that we go through that phase. In 2027, the last item that Doug had on his little schedule form that he showed is really is finalizing what we call our project report, which authorizes us to move into the full design phase. So really, we will be moving into the full design phase in 2027. Tentatively, we think that's about a 3-year phase. So to what Todd just said, in terms of phasing the construction of the project, the phasing, however we phase that down into components, that's likely to begin closer to 2030.
And it's Meg's role to always make the schedule as conservative as possible, and it's our role to push them to go faster. So that's the way this works.
I'm gonna go to Luis and then we'll go to Mary Ann.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for all the work that has been done, but I really wanted to take an opportunity to commend my colleague Supervisor Lopez and Mayor Labar, and the many other partners that have been working on this for a long time. You mentioned that there's at least one fatality per year. That's one too many, and that doesn't include the many near fatalities that happen. As we know, those accidents happen so frequently. Last month, I was at the state capitol and met a young lady from Chris's district, from Gonzales, who was a survivor of one of these accidents, and she had this story online that went viral, and it was on PBS, of how this near-death experience coming to Salinas really changed her life, and how she turned that tragedy into something positive in her life. But this agency and former Supervisor Lou Calcaño for many years were really involved in improving the highway from Salinas, from Espinosa, Salo Road up to the Red Barn. And there was a lot of effort, coordination with Caltrans, a lot of money put into those efforts to really make dramatic improvements on that stretch of our highway. Now I think this is that stretch within our 101 corridor to put the resources, the effort, and to hopefully come up with these solutions. We know they're not cheap. They're very expensive, take a very long time, but I just wanted to express my support for these efforts and for this agency to really help continue to spearhead this effort and realize these improvements on this border. And hopefully we'll get to that point where we can also celebrate that this stretch of Highway 101, it has dramatically improved in its safety for folks traveling through there. Thank you.
I think that I do want to point out Chair Lopez's outstanding effort. I worked with Caltrans and Megan. I said, well, we're just gonna hand it over to Supervisor Lopez. He knows the community, and they were a little worried. Like, what, how does this work? I go, I don't know how it works, but it's magic. And you let them go, and I couldn't ask you all do really good job with your community, and I just can't say enough about it. It's a Chular presentations and how much he helped. So I kind of share that employee of the quarter with you.
Marion.
Yes, I want to thank everybody who's been involved for your efforts for the safety of 101. I did want to mention that by looking at the map, that looking at more traffic and impacts, will we be looking at in the future to impacts for collisions near Spence Road turnoff, some of those roads that we're always on, and I believe everybody in this room who's driven 101, you've had probably a little bit of a, white knuckled experience driving through there, especially if the road's wet. So just to maybe be mindful to some of those turnoffs or trucks crossing onto and off the freeway 101, the freeway here.
Yeah, it'll be kind of a phased approach from what we've seen. We're not absolute on this, but it looks like we're going to get rid of the left turns first, and then we'll work on the right ins and right outs. But we have to maintain the access on the roads, and that's where these frontage roads come in. But we'll come back with the designs with you, and then that's the phasing that we talked about already. It's got to be done in phases strategically.
Thank you.
All right. Let's take this out to the public, see if there's any public input. Invite folks on Zoom to use the raise hand room. I do see a few hands, so I'm going to invite them to the podium first, please.
So my name is Diana Miller, and I'm one of the property owners along 101 and Potter Road. And first of all, I thank Doug and Meg for reaching out to us and letting us know what's going on. We appreciate that. I think this is sort of moot now. It sounds like you've gone back to the drawing board. But what was presented to me on August 6th when we had this community meeting was, I guess I would say, upsetting or disappointing. We own some prime farmland that's been in our family for probably 100 years. And all the frontage roads they were showing were either, it doesn't matter if it was a frontage road, it'd be fine, but they had roads cutting right through our property, and we owned 3 lots, and it was dividing the property up. And I would like it if you would please continue to or consider the value of that land and how it should be maintained. Fine with giving up some land for a frontage road, the land, but having it cut my property in half is a major economic impact. But it sounds like maybe you're going back to the drawing board, so it doesn't matter. But anyway, that was just my.
Norm?
Morning, everyone. Norm Brute for Farm Bureau Monterey, and I want to start by saying the collaboration on this has been great between TAMC, Caltrans, and the CTA. Everyone here, including Supervisor Lopez, really has been unusual in my career. This is the first time a transportation project has really involved a lot of collaboration with the stakeholders, the landowners, et cetera. And I want to thank Doug and Meg for the opportunity to do so. We had several meetings at my office where we had landowners and farm operators in and went through a number of different scenarios, made suggestions, which were actually taken, and we really appreciate that. This is about safety, and it is about improving the project corridor. Trying to get to that point is going to be a challenge because of all the prime ag land surrounding that area. But also everyone in the community realizes we need to do this and we need to find the right solution. So that's what we're working towards, and we really appreciate the collaboration, the opportunity to provide the input. So it's been a good process so far. We have a long road to go yet, but we're really appreciative of all the support that we've gotten so far. So thank you.
Thank you, Norm. See no one else in the room. I'll go to Zoom and I do see a hand up from Andrew B. Andrew, the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Andrew Vonnegut and my family are property owners along 101 South. First, we appreciate the work being done by Caltrans and TAMC to improve safety along the corridor. Clearly, it's a big problem and we support resolution. At the same time, we have concerns about some of the main proposals for the area between Spence and Potter Roads, where we own 2 pieces of industrial zone property. Existing proposals that include a roundabout at Spence and a frontage road along 101 would greatly negatively impact the usability, rentability, and consequently value of both of our properties. There's very little heavy industrial property in the area or the county for that matter. The businesses that require this zoning designation provide essential services all over Monterey County, and debilitation of the resource would be a loss for the county. We encourage TAMC and Caltrans to explore alternative proposals for this area. We've outlined these previously and are available to discuss them at any time. Our preferred option would be for Caltrans to use the existing median strip to provide space for the frontage road. The existing left turn and acceleration lines are slated to be closed under most proposals, and this space would then become available for use. There appears to be ample room for the freeway, the proposed frontage road, and the roundabout if this space were used along with the existing Caltrans right-of-ways. This proposal makes more sense than taking private land since Caltrans already owns all the land it needs to complete the work. There's space for a frontage road along most of 101 outside of the segment between Spence and Potter, so the median would really only need to be used in this area. 2 other options include routing the frontage road between Spence and Potter around the back of our property and placing the roundabout slightly south of Spence. Some variations of this have been proposed. There was objection to splitting the farmland, understandably, in this area in 2. In one scenario, the frontage road could be kept close to 101 and perhaps the farmland separated from larger properties could be rezoned as industrial to, and maybe this higher value land use may remove some of the resistance to having the farmland divided. Thank you.
Is there anybody else via Zoom? I don't see any other hands. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close public comment and bring it back. I want to thank you, Doug, and thank you, Meg, and both of your teams for everything that you've done. I think this process has been a lengthy one. We wish it was faster, as Todd said, but the engagement has been something unlike I've seen in any other project. And it means a lot to the community that often feels that they are told what's going to happen rather than talked with. They talked at, and that we've seen that difference. And I do have to share Mayor LaBar's comment and really thank the South of Salinas group. I'm thinking of Laura Judici Mills, Janie Diaz, Holly Andrus, and their families who have really spearheaded this project. I know they're not in the room with us today, but since this will be a long-term digital record, I want to make sure they know that they are appreciated for their efforts in kickstarting this project. And they've not let off that pedal. They've continued to focus on this, and to the point that even it was actually this month, we had a meeting with the CTC commissioner that we were able to put together and sit down and have a great conversation about some of the potential here. We want to make sure this stays on their radar as early as possible, as long as possible, as frequently as possible. Luckily, that commissioner was on the bus and nearly got hit. I'll say that because to him, it was an experience that he'll never forget. And he mentioned that repeatedly to us in the conversation. And so as we look at these solutions, I also want to point out the challenges of the SAIC as outlined in the presentation. Putting that many more trucks through this particular corridor at different hours and year round rather than just seasonally will have an impact. Our families can't afford the impact that we've experienced already. Just as recently as this Monday, there was a major accident right at this interchange, potential location near Hartnell. And I don't know the outcome yet, but I know that a lot of lives will be permanently impacted. As Supervisor Alejo talked about Fabiola and her story from Gonzalez, she turned it into a positive. She took some of her insurance money and she sponsored scholarships for other students from this area who are looking for opportunity to do more with their lives. A true success story for Gonzalez, and what they consider the Gonzalez way, as she really embodies that focus. But those stories shouldn't exist to this degree. And Enrico was not as lucky. He lost his life earlier this summer on this corridor, a young man from South County. And so we continue to pray for their families and know that everything that we do is meaningful, that will make sure that folks stay alive. We'll give them an opportunity to really thrive and not worry as was said by Mayor Carbone, she talked about gripping the wheel and white knuckling it through this corridor. So many of us have those experiences every single day. My staff travels south every single day out of Salinas, and I fear for their safety as they go through this corridor. So yeah, I want to thank you for the effort so far and look forward to continuing to work with you to make this happen as expeditiously as possible for our community. Thank you. All right, any final thoughts? Yeah.
And I think this is one of those issues that is a priority, regardless of where you serve or who you represent in our county, and the way that we can make sure that we're continuing to put this as a priority. And we've got the support of Simplify, but we're all in this together to get this project done.
Thank you. And Mayor Carbone, one more point. You said especially when it's wet, just know that we've also focused on how the water flows through this region with Caltrans. It's one of our early projects that we're able to identify and get solutions for to make sure we don't get the standing water that cuts off that entire corridor. So thank you.
And Mr. Chair, we can show Fabiola's video. It's only like 2 minutes at a future meeting.
Absolutely.
Just so people can kind of be familiar with one of the persons who survived what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, with that, we've concluded item 5, and we'll go to item 6, which is the presentation on the Surf Busway and Bus Rapid Transit alignment. I'm going to turn that over to Todd.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna stay seated here and so I can run the presentation from my laptop. We've added this item to the agenda today, rather short notice, to discuss some questions that have come up about the Surf Busway alignment within the Monterey branch line. And the issue is that in talking with the California Coastal Commission staff and seeing their review of the Surf Busway, their position is to require the Surf project be realigned from adjacent to the busway, from adjacent to the rail tracks, which has been the TAMC direction up to this point. The TAMC direction has been to minimize the impacts to the existing rail, and the Coastal Commission staff are requiring that Surf project be realigned onto the existing track alignment to minimize impacts to environmentally sensitive habitat areas. So this is obviously a major change from what the TAMC board has directed the project to follow since the inception of the project, and we wanted to bring it to the board for discussion. If this requirement is not met, the Coastal Commission staff said they likely will recommend denying the project for the coastal development permit. If the board does agree to consider this alignment in addition to the existing alignment, we hope that we'll get a support recommendation from coastal staff when they bring it to, goes to the Coastal Commission at their September 11th, 12th, 13th meeting, which will be in Monterey. We don't know yet which day that the project will be heard.
It's on the 12th.
Is it on the 12th?
The agenda's been posted on Thursday.
Thursday. All right, thank you. I realize that there are some board members and others who aren't as familiar with the Monterey branch line alignment as others. So I just wanted to give a little bit of background. The alignment is from Castroville all the way down into Monterey. The Transportation Agency purchased 12.65 of the acres back in 2003 using Prop 116 funds. Prior to that, the city of Seaside had purchased about half a mile of it. That's in the Seaside city jurisdiction. And then Monterey owns the almost 2 miles that goes south into the city. Also on this map, I'll try to highlight here. TAMC's ownership goes down to right about here, which is the intersection of Contra Costa in Sand City. And the Surf project starts where this red bar is, right by the Costco shopping center. Edgewater Transit Exchange is currently there. So the Surf project will feed into that. And then on the northern end, there's a red bar, which is at Palm and Del Monte in Marina. And that's the 5-mile stretch of the Monterey branch line that the Surf project's proposed in. What that looks like right now in current conditions, because of the short time frame of putting this presentation together, I just pulled some street view images off of Google. So this is what everyone can see in Google right now, but it's essentially what's there. This is looking in Marina, looking towards Del Monte, towards where Highway 1 on and off ramp is on the south end of Del Monte. The shot is taken from Marina Drive, which is on the other side of the rail corridor. The branch line is approximately 100 feet wide all the way throughout the corridor. And here you're looking at tracks that are single track, kind of in between the two roads. That fence and the gate there is to where the I believe it's Marina Coast Water District has a facility that they have an easement within TAMC's right of way. And that part of the project is where the bike path will be connected so that the bike path has a clear connection on the north side to Beach Range Road and the facility that will be in State Park when the State Park is constructed. This is looking from the 8th Street overcrossing where looking down on the branch line alignment. The double track here, the two tracks side by side, is about a mile, a little less than a mile of the 5 miles within the Monterey branch line. And actually within the total of the branch line, there's only about a mile that's double tracked. And this is here as a remnant of when the Fort Ord was open and operating and bringing freight in and out of the Army base there. In the distant, you can see what would be the 5th Street undercrossing. So this is looking from 8th Street south. 5th Street undercrossing was originally a side where the railroad tracks went under Highway 1, and that's where the busway will utilize a connection over to Emmy's property for the 5th Street station. Just in case people don't know this as well, the Highway 1 obviously is right there. This is the Caltrans coastal bike path that's been in place for decades. That fence is the edge of the TAMC right of way and drops down to the double track. And then you can see the fence here. TAMC right of way is 100 feet wide throughout. This road up here is Beach Range Road. It is currently a bicycle and pedestrian only path. When State Parks comes in to construct the state park, this will be transitioned to their internal circulation road, and they will build a separate bike path adjacent to it on the west side. Just now on the south end, there wasn't quite as clear of an image of the tracks themselves, but where the telephone pole is right adjacent to the tracks. This is the Highway 1 off ramp at Fremont in California, with the bike path immediately adjacent on the inside on the left of the fence. And then when you look across it, the RVs there are parked where the Monterey Bay Shores Eco Resort is approved from the Coastal Commission, and then Scribble Hills on the back here, just to give some context for the locals that are familiar with where people write messages on the path. And then this is the same area, just looking directly down, and you can see where this is relatively unique, where there is sand on the tracks currently. You can see the vegetation, which is primarily ice plant, and that's pretty consistent throughout the corridor. It's interesting in this Google view, it shows the construction equipment, and this is actually the Eco Resort who cleared the road, and I think we inherited quite a bit of their sand in the process. But we do have shifting sand through here that's part of the environment. Looking at the question of what would happen if the busway got shifted to the current rail alignment, Kimberly Horn, who's the engineering firm working on the project, does do quite a bit of rail work in other parts of the country. And they put together a quick schematic showing that if you put the busway on where the current, this is the current tracks, putting the busway on top of that is represented here. There is room for 2 separate tracks within the 100-foot wide alignment. Part of the issue, though, is the coastal staff is really looking at reducing the footprint to just the existing track alignment. And what we're hoping is, or asking for, is to leave the option open for future discussion for additional rail alignment. I would say, speaking for Kevin here, and he'll have a chance to speak, Kevin Kahn from the District Director for Coastal Commission is here with us and can answer questions later. But what they're looking for is keeping the uses on the existing rail alignment. And what that would mean potentially is future rail would maybe have to replace the busway if that was the direction that we went as we pursued rail in the long term. But looking at the corridor, there is plenty of room for either a single track or the unlikely need for a double track to fit on one side of the existing rail alignment through the corridor. Speaking to that, I did participate in a meeting with Senator Laird a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, where we did try to work through this and get to a yes with coastal staff on how to get the SURF project approved, putting us into this position and asking for board direction. One thing that we did talk about was Coastal Commission staff's agreement to not put the balance of the Monterey branch line right away into conservation easement, which would further limit the potential for future rail service, and asking that they acknowledge the Monterey branch line, including the portions in Monterey and Seaside, are historically and potentially future, or will be a future transportation corridor. And in talking through this, want to realize that if we were only talking about a rail project right now, we would probably still be dealing with this issue with Coastal Commission and getting approval through this right away with any additional improvements to the rail line. What we want to confirm is that if the board agreed to shift the SURF project to the existing rail track alignment, the Coastal Commission staff would not be requesting any additional conditions that limited the future discussion on how a rail might proceed. So with that, the requested action is for the board to provide direction and feedback for or against supporting an alternative for an on-track alignment of the SURF busway and bus rapid transit project within the Monterey branch line corridor. There is just also mentioned that Coastal Commission did provide a letter yesterday afternoon that documented their feeling that there is a future potential for rail along the corridor. And Kevin Kahn is here if there's any questions or if you'd like to make any additional comments.
Sure, just a few quick ones. Thanks, everyone. My name is Kevin Kahn. I'm the District Manager of the Coastal Commission Central Coast District Office. We're in Santa Cruz, and our district covers Santa Cruz, Monterey, and San Luis Obispo counties. We've been working with your staff and with Monterey Salinas Transit staff on this project for several years. There's obviously, without getting into too many details, a lot of great benefits with this project. There's also a lot of challenges with it in terms of its approvability under the Coastal Act. We think we found a potential solution here that can help minimize impacts and issues associated with sensitive habitats, which has been an impediment to this project moving forward. And so with this solution, I think one of the more important points for this particular body is that we don't see this in any way as frustrating future rail. I know it's an important issue with the county. It's an important Coastal Act issue as well about, multimodal transportation services. We actually see this as a way to help facilitate those future discussions because you are committing it to a future as a transportation corridor, I should say. And so whether that is, bus now and rail in the future, or a bus and rail that shares the tracks, or whatever iteration that comes out of future planning, we see this as a way to get important transportation on the ground now, while we can continue to facilitate those discussions about the what, the where, the why, the all the different iterations. So with that, I'm available for questions, but otherwise, thank you.
If the board is okay with that, I'd like to go to public. Any concerns with that? All right, then we're going to go to public comment first. I'll invite anybody in the room to speak first. Seeing no one in the room, I'll go to Zoom. I see two hands up. I'm going to start with phone number 2082. 2082, you have 2 minutes.
This will kill the rail. You may say that it won't, but it will, because it puts it way in the future. You have to tear up more dunes when you could just have a carpool lane. You know, I listened to the MST meeting the other day, and one hitch that you have to regard, you need to prove that the SURF project has an environmental, social, economical, and technical advantage over the train under feasibility of the Coastal Act. Apparently, from listening to the last MST meeting on Wednesday, the Coastal Commission is already promising to help SURF get approval through a conflict resolution approach so it can bypass staff's recommendation for denial. Only trouble is, how is the Coastal Commission going to prove that the SURF project will take care of our ever-expanding traffic congestion more than the train? Think of it, a train to Monterey from San Francisco picking up the hundreds of tourists who all want to see one of the most important sanctuaries in the world, the aquarium, the sea otters, thousands of tourists, arriving as opposed to the SURF, which will only deal with local people and tourists, while the train could and would bring down thousands that would otherwise have to drive, which is what is happening now. The only thing the Commission is concerned about, according to Mr. Sedgwick, is litigation, a litigation that will most certainly be. Please, vote for the train. It's time. The SURF project is dead. It's a very environmentally destructive project. Thank you.
We're going to go to David Schonbrun next.
Okay, I'm David Schoenbrunn, Vice President of the Train Riders Association of California. We're here to advocate for the preservation of the branch line and the implementation of passenger rail service in the near term. That would support the goal of the RTP to reduce vehicle miles traveled and greatly complement the ongoing Monterey County rail expansion. Passenger rail is included in the unconstrained project list in the 2022 RTP. Funding should be considered in the RTP now in preparation. TRAC has a practical suggestion on how to proceed. We've already presented a proposal to your executive team for an inexpensive way to implement passenger rail. The Permit Streamlining Act has created an urgency to get a decision from the Coastal Commission. We suggest you enter into a tolling agreement with the commission to take the time pressure off, and then ask for the item to be taken off the upcoming meeting agenda. We suggest you then discuss with commission staff how they would look at a restoration of rail service on the branch line. That would give you the information you need to make a wise decision on your agenda item today. Thank you.
We're going to go to Michael Salerno next. Michael?
Hi there, can you guys hear me?
We can.
Hi, this is Michael Salerno from Keep Fort Ord Wild. I think you guys probably know our position on the project. I would say this is a pretty substantial 11th hour change. This project's been in motion for 5 years, and we just a couple weeks ago were able to get the 100% plans from MST. And now, as the Coastal Commission hearing approaches, we hear that it's going directly over the tracks, which obviously has implications for the upcoming Coastal Commission meeting. In other words, what would the Coastal Commission, if anything, be approving. These obviously would need to be detailed plans. There would still be some issues with ESHA and of course coastal access issues, which we are still very concerned about, which we've relayed those concerns to the Coastal Commission. But what I would emphasize is if this is truly the path for TAMC, their recommendation, and the board wants to put this over the tracks, then this is going back to, this has to go back to the drawing board. In other words, this can't be something that's going to be shoved in front of the Coastal Commission, scribbled on the back of a napkin, if you will, and approved in September. So I just want the board members to think about that. It's something to consider, but it's not a solution. So at this point, the only real option for MST, if this is the direction things are going, is they should withdraw their application and go back to the drawing board. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Anyone else via Zoom? Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands up. I'm going to close public comment, bring it back. And I did see it.
Mike is up too.
There you go. Well, I think we're to we'll go Michael DeLappa.
Great. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, fantastic. Good morning. My name is Michael DeLappa, and I'm the Executive Director of Landwatch Monterey County. I'm here to support aligning the Surf Busway and Bus Rapid Transit project within the Monterey Branch Line Corridor. Your approval today is critical because it supports a carefully negotiated compromise between your staff, MST staff, and Coastal Commission staff that makes it possible to co-locate the Surf Busway on the existing train tracks. There's ample space for both rail and the Surf Busway to coexist within the current corridor. As you know, the rail tracks have been out of use for more than 50 years, and I'm old enough to remember when they were in use. They would need to be replaced for any future rail service. According to the experts we've consulted, a rail solution is still likely 30 years and $500 million away. Approving the SURF project now will set the stage for future federal and state rail investment. As important, approving the alignment makes it possible for SURF to provide rapid transit solution for low-income and other riders, and also reduce greenhouse gases and ease traffic congestion within 2 to 3 years. So I want to commend TAMC and MST staff for working together to find a creative and legally viable solution that meets MST's funding requirements and is consistent with the Coastal Act. Landwatch urges your approval.
Thank you, Michael. We're going to go to phone number ending in 2082. I think we already took public comment from that number. I'm not sure if it's a second person, so I'm going to give you the opportunity. Is that a new person at 2082 or the same individual? One more call. Okay.
Can you hear me?
We can.
2837. You know, if you're going to put in a surf busway on the railroad tracks and spend up to $100 million altogether will be spent there. After spending all that money, they're not going to take it all out in order to do a rail. I mean, that would be throwing away $100 million. That's crazy. And the public doesn't want surf. They want rail. They don't want it to be impeded. This is just terrible. You have a sacred trust for rail. The voters voted it in, and Props 116, and you had the state trust over that corridor. Marin County did it, and they only have 250,000 people. They put in a new rail line. And Landwatch is spreading things that aren't true. That the rail was going on that corridor into the mid-90s, at least freight trains. And shame on Landwatch. I used to help them out, and I'm really disappointed. You know, you have those miles between Monterey and Castroville. It's 2 lanes on either side. You have a little tiny short section that's 3-lane highway where traffic actually speeds up. And where traffic flows at its best, you're going to be bypassing that for a very long bus route between Monterey and Salinas. It takes 52 to 55 minutes. Who in the hell is going to use it? It's just too slow and long. It isn't rapid transit. Most of the buses are going to be slowed down. You know, it's just crazy. A carpool lane, you have those 3 lanes, you have the potential for bus on shoulder. You have 84,000 people using that highway every peak weekend, peak days. You got about 700 people on average using the MST bus line 20. That would be most of the surf buses on there. Come on, let's be realistic. Nobody's going to use it. You're going to have to walk under a freeway and go way up a hill to get to the state park.
Thank you for your comment. We appreciate it. Okay, seeing no other hands up, I'm gonna close public comment and bring it back to the floor. I'm gonna go ahead and start with Supervisor Church, who I saw had a hand up, then I'm gonna go to Carl, then I saw Mayor Delgado, and come back to Supervisor Ask.
I got a few questions. So I know the discussion with potential rail coming in, Todd, was that it could be alongside or go over. Could you give me explain why? What would be one option? Why that wouldn't work when you go with the other option?
Well, the part of the problem is we don't have a rail project to compare this to, and the rail is expected to be in the long-term state vision 30+ years from now, as far as when the state thinks they would be able to fund it amongst all the other rail projects around the state. So you could look at a couple different options for rail. And if it's a light rail vehicle, something that ran just in the peninsula, you might be able to put the tracks on the same alignment as the busway. You see that in urban areas where you're in a city and you see a light rail vehicle go on the same road as mixed flow vehicles. Operationally, that's not optimal. It causes conflicts and potential collisions and things that has to be worked out, but it's possible. When you get into a larger rail vehicle like the smart trains that are up in Sonoma Marin, and which I think is the most likely type of vehicle for us to discuss. Currently they're diesel multiple units, but they're in San Bernardino. They're testing a hydrogen one, so a zero emission vehicle. And those vehicles are heavier, bigger, and require more track. And I have not seen any example where they're on the road. They're always adjacent in their own right of way. And then it's a question of, do you replace the busway with tracks, or do you build tracks adjacent to it? And the graphic I showed how there is room within the 100-foot right of way to put tracks alongside of it. Coastal Commission staff is not supportive of additional facilities within the corridor. And so that's a discussion that would have to work through Coastal Commission, future Coastal Commission, back whenever that project is at that stage. So that's what we're talking about. It's hard to say because we don't have a vehicle for the type of service that we haven't planned yet. But there's limited potential for it to be on the existing right of way with the busway. It's most likely to need to be separate.
Okay, so I understand we're looking at 2 different kind of trains essentially, and obviously we're going to use light rail. It'd have to be something up probably in Castroville to separate between the heavier trains. Is that right? Or no?
The key distinction is at Castroville, the rail connects to the Union Pacific's coast route, and that's where freight rail operates. And at that point, any passenger rail has to be freight collision compliant, and that's a bigger, stronger train vehicle that's typically not a light rail vehicle.
Right. So to go and do this and then look at the future potential, whichever option that might be, is that if we put the surf in here now, would that cause a significant extra cost for rail in the future, or a minor cost? Or I know that's a real tough one to throw into, and that's why I'm not asking you to throw any numbers out. I'm just trying to get, in your opinion, a rough idea.
I honestly can't even answer the question. It's just unknown at this point, honestly.
Okay. And so you did answer the other question, I think, which I want to follow up on that. 30 years is probably the soonest we'd ever look at rail coming in there.
That's what's in the state rail plan as a vision, 30+. And when we have a use agreement with MST, their condition for use for their federal transportation grant is a minimum of 20 years. And our agreement with MST is that if we were to bring rail in sooner, we'd have to accommodate the continuation of the busway until that 20-year commitment to FTA is met. But in reality, it would be very unlikely for us to bring a rail project in the next 20 years.
I just wanted to put with the coastal, Chris, I think you sort of answered that one, one confirmation, so. The way it stands now, the coastal commission would not be very supportive of side by side, correct?
I think that's correct. It raises, hopefully for my, predecessor or my, future district manager's problem, but it raises, dune conversion issues that are very difficult to make the requisite findings to do. But I won't say it's impossible because of the fact that it's, this is a public transit project and there's different reviewing lens than say a subdivision, but it does raise issues for sure.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you want to go to Carl?
Did I have my hand raised?
I was told you wanted to speak, but we can pass.
Well, we have our, just FYI, you see him in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Peter Meyerhofer is our engineer from Kimley Horn, who's designed these types of projects in San Diego, rail projects, and is working with Sound Transit, I think, in the future up in Seattle area. If you have specific questions about the possibility of this, he can speak to that. From MST's perspective, we'd like a clean permit. Does this create issues for us, potentially our federal grant funding? Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. It's already a challenge, but I don't see it as an impossibility. So having a clean permit to move forward with will be helpful. But ultimately, this decision is this body's. The MST board will be meeting on September 9th in advance of the September 12th meeting to discuss whatever this body moves forward with. We'll be taking it forward at our September 9th meeting.
All right, thank you. Mayor Delgado.
Yeah, starting with a question to Kevin, Coastal Commission staff. How would in September the Coastal Commission approve this project without engineering designs and knowing some important questions, answers?
It isn't atypical for the commission to approve, we typically what's called revised plans, final plans. So prior to construction, that there would be, here's the performance standards that the commission would vote in terms of, modifications to the proposed project to relocate. And then those plans would be submitted to staff for review and approval after the commission would vote. So that's not atypical. In fact, almost all of our permits have some type of conditions we impose if there's a revised plans element to it. I mean, I would say too, a lot of the issues here, there are some engineering issues with respect to the tracks, but this is an issue that has been at least somewhat preliminarily studied by MST and part of their alternatives analysis. So we're not starting from scratch here. I think that there's plans, and we're basically just relocating the proposed busway, a handful of feet in some locations.
Okay, Chair and Carl, can I ask Peter Moyer a question? Carl offered him up for questions. Peter, does the type of busway, concrete, whatever substrate you're putting in, is that affected by a future rail line being punched into the same substrate or not? Like, if you're going to put a busway in with rail anticipation, light rail, would it be a different project material than if you were putting it in knowing there would never be rail sharing that bus road?
So, sorry, are you, is this a scenario where you would have rail in the same alignment as busway, so like a light rail type system?
Yeah, like you see in San Jose, Sacramento, et cetera.
Right. Partially. So, for instance, we are doing my team is doing VTA downtown light rail design as we speak. So what you would have is you would have still asphalt lanes, but you're gonna have where the rail actually is, you're gonna have to put concrete and concrete panels in there with the rail. So you would be removing pieces or portions of the busway whenever that light rail gets installed to accommodate the rails. But yeah, you wouldn't have a full, have to replace the busway with a full concrete subsection though, let's put it that way.
So my comments are that 100% of the rail being used for bus is more environmentally beneficial than using real estate next to the existing tracks and then having the tracks unused. So for efficiency and conservation, it's better to have it coincident with the rail tracks over 100% of the 5 miles rather than 30% of the 5 miles where you're crisscrossing here and there. So I support this project. I hope it can overcome the hurdles that this might represent. And I think that as a responsible government body, we should always try to be as comprehensive as possible. And the main import here is bus service and maybe rail service, but there are ancillary issues that I want to just quickly address. One is ESHA, the environmental sensitive habitat area value of this. I see it as a rail corridor, not a state park dune preservation area. And when I walk these railroad tracks, and I know this corridor very well on foot, it has relatively little ESHA value compared to what we think of as the dunes and state coastal areas. But it is beneficial to ESHA to use less of this land by putting the busway on top of the rail. And I would assume, therefore, that if ESHA is a priority, we would also want to manage the ESHA within the corridor well. And right now, it potentially could be ravaged by a plant called Veltgrass that has ravaged Vandenberg Air Force Base, thousands of acres there, and it's ravaged Guadalupe Bay Dunes down south. And so it's getting a foothold here in our corridor, and State Parks is trying to deal with it on their land. But it's the flea on the dog. It's not the most important thing here. But if ESHA is important, then part of this whole process of managing SURF and this corridor should be to take care of the ESHA value it has. And so I hope that in the future, we monitor and abate this weed, which has the potential of doing what it's done elsewhere, which is a really bad thing for ESHA. The other thing is that the handcars provide coastal access, Coastal Commission and TAMC. We appreciate, people appreciating the coast and having access to the coast. And so although the handcar folks have said disparaging things about our body, they've made mistakes, I hope that we remain professional in providing the community all the benefits we can provide our community, and to reduce the overall impact to coastal access that this project we're considering has. I hope that we do what we can to overcome our emotional side and allow the extension of the handcar use until it's no longer tenable due to SURF needing to disturb the ground, et cetera, like that. So I think ESHA and coastal access are important community values, and I hope that we look at this project comprehensively. Thank you.
Mayor Supervisor Askey.
Thanks.
It was a while ago, I know.
Yeah. So I just want to acknowledge and appreciate Senator Laird for stepping in to pull the parties together to figure out how we can come up with some path to allow this project to keep moving forward. TMZ, I think, does exceptional work planning for the future, not just our current state or the status quo, but like thinking about like what are we looking for and how do we move, how do we plan for those future generations. And I see this particular project as not being about me necessarily or the people who are currently in our current state. The SURF project is a plan for the future. It's a plan for mass transit solutions. It's a plan for reduced greenhouse gas emissions. It's a plan for the climate-oriented development that we're happening around us. I think it's planning for a future where Like when I was 16, 50% of kids had their driver's license when they turned 16, and right now it's 24% of kids who are 16 get a driver's license. It's planning for a future where our aging population won't be able to drive. It's planning for a future where we're building a bunch of affordable housing. Thank you, Marina. But it doesn't have the parking minimums that the state has told us we can't have. We're building new housing in East Garrison without parking minimums. So we're building a bunch of housing for folks who are going to work, who in the future will be living in one community and working or going to school on the peninsula. We know that Monterey's population doubles during the day because of the number of folks coming in. So I see this project as being one of those things that's essential for us to be able to like plan for the future. And I will also say, I think it's incredibly frustrating the way that we have different state agencies who at different points in a project timeline show up and say, oh no, like throw everything out and start over again, or, oh, you have to do it this way, or you have to do it that way. I have empathy for the team that's been working on this diligently, trying to navigate all of those competing interests and competing directives. But I think that what TAMC needs today and what I'm going to advocate for is that we give direction that this board will allow the Surf Busway project to be realigned onto the existing rail tracks so that the project can continue moving forward. In the absence of that direction from TAMC, it's going to make it really hard for MST to go to the Coastal Commission on September 12th and actually get something moved forward with staff recommendation from Coastal Commission staff. So I want to, I always wish that I had a magic wand and be like, oh, this is how we're going to do these things. And it would look just like this. But given the realities of where we're at today, keeping the rail, like, and I just want to also reiterate, I think everyone has said, everyone I talked to, every plan that we've engaged in wants to see rail on this corridor. And the reality is we don't have a rail project available. The state isn't funding this rail project. What we have right now is either a bus project or nothing, or continued blight on a pathway that's going to be continued as blight for the foreseeable future. And the best path for us to address current needs, future needs, like get this project moving forward while doing what we need to do. And I'm going to just ask the Coastal Commission, like we need to maintain the opportunity for rail in the future. And so these requests that Todd mentioned about, I'm going to try to read exactly what you had put up there. You have those two conditions. That the Coastal Commission agreed to not put the Monterey branch line on. It disappeared.
You share.
We want to protect this corridor for rail in the future, and I think that's what our community expects. That's what the state is planning for. That's why we acquired these tracks and this right of way. And we're gonna. I would ask just respectfully that the Coastal Commission staff consider and include this. I think we're making a big stretch at TAMC by if we agree to make this change. But I fully support the request giving that direction to stop today. So,
Second, that's a motion.
yeah, I'll make that as a motion.
All right, so I'm gonna go to the rails are of the south, Michael Barton.
And before I make my comment, since there was a motion in a second, if you would consider just in the language of what you said, just adding this as an additional alignment that's recommended by the board. Because we've already approved the other one. I just want to make sure we're not.
Oh, an additional alignment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
One, thank you for being here, Mr. Khan. I really, really appreciate that. We know the frustrations that can happen on any board or the staff levels. I want to highlight a couple of things from your letters because I thought this would be very important. Is where you had mentioned this letter is meant to provide you with the commission staff's opinion that from a Coastal Act perspective, it will not preclude such potential future rail use. Thank you for that language. And additionally, that we do not see this as a mutually exclusive endeavor, and in fact would actually help lay the foundation for a future rail, whether it be light rail on the road itself or a new commuter heavy rail line that replaces the old, or some other permutation. In addition, with those that Supervisor Askew just mentioned, with his recommendations, but those were important for me. And what SURF project brings, I live in King City. Our residents are pretty much farther stand on the inland side of Monterey County. These are farm workers. We have roughly 20% that are living toward poverty level, 40% that are very low income. Half of our population has never gone to the coast. What the surf line offers that has not been offered before is someone from my community can hop on a bus. We have a circulator, pay $2. That $2 will then transfer to line 23, which will take them to the surf line and get them all the way into one of the 5 ADA accessible trails to the coast for $2. That is unheard, and that is social equity. That is a project that is not just based for one specific thing, but adds the multiplier effect of benefiting the whole community in the whole region. And that's why it's very, very important for me. And this letter that you wrote, I thought was, I very much appreciated this. I mean, just really did, because there are many in our community that have disabilities. And without ADA accessible trails to get to the coast, which the Surf Line project brings in place, it makes it even more difficult. And I very much appreciate Transit's ability to see that we need to provide opportunities for every member of the public. And the fact that you found a way to preserve the future rail, because we all know it's going to be a while. I mean, this is going to be an expensive project. We have the bridge that we have to fix. Connecting to Union Pacific at Castroville is definitely not just as simple as saying, all we got to do is put a train up there and bring it down. And we all live this. So thank you for the consideration. I have no problem adding this as an additional alignment. That's one of our preferences and approved. The project needs to move forward with that team permit so that we can bring this resource to all of our members and all the people that we register. Thank you, Chair.
I'm gonna go to the Rails R of the North, Dave Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I might just like to say I couldn't agree with more with what Mr. Labarge just said. He's absolutely right. This is does not include does not bring the end of rail. I think it actually helps enhance the opportunities for rail. I'm fully supportive of what said, Mike.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna go to Councilman Ricard.
Thank you. I want to echo your statement because we share similar population, and for me it is extremely weird that some of those kids, little kids, have never been in our Monterey. I'm just kidding. At the aquarium. So for little kids that have never been into a place where people from all over the world come and see is stressful. I full support this, but I do have a question to the representative of the Coastal Commission. Is you mentioned that if we put the railroad and the busway, we have to do converting dunes. So what is that conversion of dunes and how that will impact the environment?
It's your question. I'm sorry, if we, as far as the proposed project right now or in future. So the way the project as proposed, it would convert, give or take about 20 acres or so of dune habitat. Dunes are some of the most rare landforms in the state. It's actually only about 2% of the state's landmass. And so one of the Coastal Commission's overarching lenses is to protect dune habitat. And under the coast, like there was the term ESHA that was thrown out. ESHA stands for Environmentally Sensitive Habitat Areas. It's a term of art under the Coastal Act. And one of the seminal provisions of the Coastal Act is its protection of ESHA, of the state's highest protection in the coastal zone for sensitive habitats, and dunes typically rise to that level. And the issue is that once something is proposed in ESHA, there's only actually very limited amounts of development that are allowed in it. This is all one way of saying that one of the difficulties of this project, and yes, we fully recognize that not all of the corridor is a pristine sandy dune, but some of it is, and it does support listed habitat species under the State and Federal Endangered Species Act. So that's one of our overarching lenses, is how can we minimize those impacts as much as we can. We mitigate for whatever remaining impact is available. And then also, realize all the other important benefits we've discussed today about transit, about environmental justice, about getting lower income and inland people into our coastal locales, in the state parks where this project would locate. So that's kind of, finding that sweet spot, if you will, of how to get to meet all those coastal act objectives.
Yeah, we're going to Supervisor Level, and then my last comment with Darrell.
Thank you. First of all, I think it's all been said very well by all my colleagues here. But I did want to just take an opportunity to stress that point, thanking the Coastal Commission staff working with Senator Laird, MST, TAMC, our TAMC staff. I think when the initial recommendation was publicized, I think some of us were taken aback by the tone. But the fact that since then, there's been ongoing conversations and negotiations to reach this adjustment in the project, I think speaks well. And it's great to have you here. It's great to receive this letter and have it for the record, because I think that this intent documented in this letter is important for future purposes as the real project advances. And we all know it will take some time. So I just wanted to just say, it's not perfect, but I know MST has the funding streams, has some very, some deadlines coming up, some very strict timelines. We know there is going to be an administration change. We don't know how future funding allocations may go. So there's a lot of moving pieces to this. So for many reasons, we're concerned about not making sure we don't lose out on those federal funding for this project. And I know Carl has already stressed that, but I wanted to say it here because this is the only body, I think, in Monterey County that has all 12 cities represented, all 5 county supervisors represented. I will be attending the meeting on September 12th. Our board has already sent a letter in support of the project. So again, I just wanted to say thank you for working with us, working to make these needed adjustments so that this project can move forward. Last thing I wanted to say was just on who benefits from this. In the Salinas Valley, many of our residents depend on transit to go to work in the morning, whether it's in hospitality or restaurants. If you wake up in the morning and you see who's coming from South County or Salinas to work in the peninsula, this is important for them. If it can help speed up the process, if it can encourage more ridership for people to utilize transit to get to work, this is, for us, we see it as having many benefits. And when you see local, state, federal government behind a project, it's great that when it comes to the Coastal Commission can recognize that collaboration and partner with us to address the concerns that you raised, but ultimately to let this important project move forward. One of the speakers had mentioned that the voters didn't want this, but I always remind folks that in Measure X, SURF was included, I think, $15 million worth. This was approved by the voters of Monterey County in November of 2016. So it's actually one of those projects that was put on the table and the voters approved it when they gave that overall approval of Measure X back then. So I just want to put that on the record and keep the focus where it should be and what the voters of Monterey County have supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Why you put me after him? He said everything I'm going to say. No, but the object was to thank everybody that came together. And I wanted things to come be there personally.
Yeah.
The letter is a strong letter, and I'm agreeing with Supervisor Alejo by saying, make sure it's in the record about their opinion, their concept, right? But the thing is, we shouldn't go too far. We plan for down the road, we plan for future, right? Okay.
But we shouldn't be talking about what's gonna happen 35 years from now, like we're being here voted on it, right? And I say that by saying, we don't know what the best practices of what's gonna be done in 25 years from now, 30 years from now, right? When the money start coming in. So when people say, well, it's a waste of money, it's a waste of time, wasting money, wasting time is not doing anything, right? This road will last 20 or 30 years. Whoever's here, someone mentioned $500 billion that the cost would be. I don't know. I don't believe that, but I'm saying that's what's out there, right? That's for the funders to decide. Yeah, that's right. He said, oh, okay, yeah. Just okay, that's why I said no. But my point is that's for them to decide what the best practices are as they come onto this board, make those decisions. We're talking about now, we need to put them in the best place to do that. The best place to do that is to keep this corridor open. And that's a very important point of that statement is this lays the foundation for rail because it keeps it open. It keeps them from moving in that environmental sensitive area concept on top of that section. And as long as we're driving something through there, it's open for something in the future. And people need the access now. The state government, federal government it's not in their queue to discuss sending money to this area for this issue for 30 plus years, right? So what are we doing? And I just add, because we did all support the SURF, but when we were trying to put them in alignment together, co-locate them, the Coastal Commission said, well, we don't agree with that. And that startled us. But now they're saying if you put it on top of the rail is still open, it's still viable, knowing we ain't gonna see no money for 30 years. I'm just wondering, why we're having a hard time with this. Once they said that they see that it's open and it's viable 30 years from now, then that makes sense to me. And at the end of it, I'll just say, it's not a waste of money. Because the people that would use that now need it now for the next 15, 20, 25 years until someone sends us close to $500 million to update, right? Update. So I just think my last thing, I just think all the groups, Senator Laird and the leadership from this team right here, the last three chairs and Todd and MST for coming up with the idea, I guess. And sticking with it. It's going to make a difference. And I'm with everyone else about, I don't think we should, when this land was given, I have a problem with the national park being over there anyway, but I think so that land should be seaside. But my point is, we have to be on guard by not allowing them to say some type of conservation easement. When that land was given as a state park, the railway was anticipated. And everybody that signed off on that 30 years ago, right? They said they anticipated rail. Well, rail's not there, so we have to plan for another 30 years. I'm just saying we have to be protective of that right of way. Thank you.
Maybe in 30 years, there'll be a Joe B. air train. Who knows? My supervisor asked you, then I'm going to come back to Ed, Mary Ann Carbone, and then Chaz. Everyone's getting a turn.
Thank you. And I feel like I'm just weighing in on the same things that everyone has said. But I just want to point out just how I feel really well protected when I hear Mayor LaBarre, I hear Mayor Delgado, and I hear Mayor Oglesby speaking about the things that really touch my own heart and the things that are really important, I think, to all of us, not whatever hat we're wearing. I believe that you really are touch the importance of what it is that we're doing. It wouldn't happen without the Coastal Commission just leading us and pushing us. And I know sometimes people sort of just the Coastal Commission because there's, they have the whip. But the truth of the matter is, I think we all appreciate it and we need it. So I thank you so much for coming down and also for the role that you and the agencies play. So thank you. I don't have a lot more to say, but I am very conscious of your Delgado's comments about really ensuring that we let that part of the open as long as we can, when we're looking at the construction of things, so that people do continue to have access. That includes the little handrail. So I hope that we're gonna be able to keep that in mind. Thank you all so much for your comments. Really, really well accepted and taken.
Yeah, thank you. And it's all been well said and identified. Thank you for the Coastal Commission, Kevin, for the letter. Without this letter and without your presence, I wouldn't feel the same. So thank you for that effort. I think it's the epitome of collaboration. The only reason I want to say anything is I think that when we vote, we have an obligation to make sure that our constituents, those that call in, those that will read, those that pay attention, know the reasoning behind a vote. And so for that, I want to weigh in. The collaboration between MST, the Coastal Commission, TAMC, and all the other partners that have gotten us to this point. I look forward to a successful vote by the Coastal Commission September 12th, and I too will be there. You know, life is all about making decisions and compromises and adjustments to the statutory, the physical limitations. So this is one of those examples where, yeah, we just want to build it. We've heard some callers several times from today and other sessions where they believe that rail is the absolute desire and need and just needs to be built now, irrespective of all of the conditions. But we know that that is not the way public projects and public policy is crafted. So anything that leaves the door open for future rail along that corridor, Coastal Commission, thank you for being able to articulate that. The other thing I would say is that, as an example, this morning, I got a call from my son who asked if I could accommodate getting my grandson from Marina to school. And I was already on my way here, and he was on the MST bus. And it's not Carl's fault, but the bus was late. And again, he was late getting to school, and he has to ride the bus to get through the traffic that we all know is southbound on Highway 1. This corridor gets people to work on time, gets them to school on time, allows them to expand their life, as many have said, from South County to get to the peninsula, to get to work, to get to school, to get to the ocean. This corridor was intentionally purchased so that we gave our peninsula the opportunity to expand their lives. So I see this as one step further with the SURF project, being able to do that. And in the future, it won't be any of our decisions. We're leaving the door open for future TAMC members, future MST members, the board members that will be making decisions that affect the lives of the society in 20, 30 years from now. So hopefully we can say, and they will say about us in the legacy, is that we left the door open, that we identified what we felt was the best, and that we did the best we could within the conditions of the statute and the funding. And we got out of the way and we did it, and we built something that works for them. The future generation will deal with it as they see their opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. And everyone here said it so well. So I did want to thank Mr. Khan for being here and for his letter. And you know, this here impacts the surf bus would be, I think, wonderful for get people around from South County, from a disadvantaged community, getting people to work and into the Monterey area. I know that passenger rail service to Monterey ended on April 30th in 1971 with some freights still coming into Fort Ord until the mid-90s. I was looking on my computer, and I mean, I have nothing against train. Yes, I want the train, but for now, in the interim, we need to get the bus and we need to get people connected. But the Del Monte made its last run on April 30th in 1971 to the Monterey area. I think what we need to do is, what we can do is to get ridership and to get people from one point A to point B. And I think right now supporting the SURF is the way to do it. And I'm glad that this letter will leave it open to future rail in the future. And that's my comment. So thank you. And I believe I'm going to talk as a mayor. Will I put my mayor hat on? But I'm talking for speaking for the residents in the greater Monterey Peninsula, because we're all interconnected. We're not just siloed off per city, right? So anyway, that's my.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm gonna go to Councilman Fedor.
Thank you. I echo the sentiments that my colleagues have, and I think when I look at this, we always talk about climate action and adaptation. This is a prime example of adaptation right now, when we have things to do right now. But I very I acknowledge the fact that Mr. Khan is here. The letter provides a lot of insight into what the Coastal Commission is thinking. But I have a question for you, and this is just for my edification. I'm not trying to open up a can of worms. The understanding that I had so far between MST and Coastal Commission was that it was always an underlying intent of the Coastal Commission to proceed with a conflict resolution in place. With this agenda item and the way that we're blessing this right now, will that conflict resolution apply as well?
Yes, I think that this helps us get to where we need to go in terms of the legal findings and the kind of nuts and bolts of how the Coastal Act works in that regard. There's a series of steps and findings we have to make about minimizing and whatnot. And so, I'm sorry, minimizing impacts. And so this helps us get there.
And just to supplement to that, is conflict resolution a common process that occurs for coastal projects?
No, and just for everyone's knowledge, so conflict resolution is a provision under the Coastal Act that would allow for a project to move forward for approvability that is otherwise inconsistent with one or more Coastal Act provisions. But if you denied it, then it would be inconsistent with another Coastal Act. And so it's kind of a complicated, somewhat wonky thing, but it's basically, it's not something the commission does very often, because typically there aren't the type of conflicts for most projects. If you either approve something or you deny something, and the denial doesn't lead to another adverse impact. And so public transit projects are something that the commission and the Coastal Act supports. And so, facilitation of coastal acts, all the other good things we've talked about today, greenhouse gas emissions. And so those are all provisions that we're looking at. But again, the habitat part is also one of the, if not the most, I'd say, generally speaking, habitat protection and maximizing public coastal access are the two, highest priorities under the Coastal Act. So that's just an overview of how staff and the commission and the Coastal Act kind of looks at a lot of these issues. If that helps answer your question.
Yeah, whenever I hear the words conflict and resolution, it takes me somewhere else. So I'm glad you're clarifying things. But I appreciate you being here. That really helps. Sure. Thank you all.
Let's go to
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, I echo all the comments of my colleagues, and this is definitely going to improve the quality of life for many residents, not just in Salinas, but across Monterey County. And as I do at every opportunity, I had this morning, I ended up taking my daughter and two of her friends to Monterey for senior sunrise, which is an opportunity for seniors to, wake up really early and have their dad drive them to the beach so they can enjoy the sunrise. And on the way back, I had the opportunity to discuss this agenda item. And these are three young ladies. I'm going to mention them because I'm sure they're watching our TAMC meeting. Bella, Ame, and Crystal. And we were watching the traffic on the way back to school around 8 o'clock. And I said, well, what do you guys think of this concept that TAMC wants to bring forward? Of course, first question, what is TAMC? But they also said very similar comments to everybody here, that we got to do something now. I mean, some of this rail it's a great idea for the future, but what's going to impact residents now? So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. All right, before I call for the question here, I just want to share one brief comment. I agree with everything everyone has said. Not for the single comment I disagree with. I just want to share a story. When I was recently graduated from college, I was helping my brother coach a baseball team from King City High. And you can imagine a bus load. We were driving 15 passenger vans over from King City to Monterey for a game. And a rowdy crowd of boys. It was the varsity team, so I was 16 to 18. But as soon as we came over Imgen and dropped into Marina, and they saw the ocean, the car went quiet. Dead. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I turned and asked a couple of the kids, first time you seen the ocean? Yeah. And it just lingered. It was next 15 quiet minutes in the car. As we went along one, we got closer and they were pointing at things. You can hear the whispers, but they were just silent, taking it. It's one of those things that stuck with me. And it's the reason I'm supporting this today, because any opportunity to give our communities more access and to do it safely and effectively and efficiently and get people to and from these places in a way that resonates is something that I'm going to look for. So today, that's where my vote will be, and those are my reasons why. And with that, I would like to ask Eloise to take us through a roll call vote. The motion was asked you, the second is send it.
District 1 Supervisor Alejo.
Aye.
District 2 Supervisor Church.
Aye.
District 3 Supervisor Lopez.
Aye.
District 4 Supervisor Askew.
Aye.
District 5 Supervisor Adams.
Aye.
City of Carmel by the Sea.
Aye.
City of Del Rio.
Aye.
City of Gonzales.
Aye.
City of Greenfield. City of King City.
Aye.
City of Marina.
Yes.
City of Monterey.
Aye.
City of Pacific Grove.
Aye.
City of Salinas.
Aye.
City of Sand City.
Aye.
City of Seaside.
Aye.
City of Soledad.
Yes.
Chair, the motion passes unanimous.
Thank you, Eloise. All right, having concluded that item, we're going to jump into 7, which is to receive reports from our transportation partners. We'll start with Caltrans. Randy, you're muted. Still muted. We might have a microphone issue. We'll come back to you. I'm going to continue now with, oh, now we hear you. Go for it.
Perfect. Okay, great. So Brandy Ryder, Caltrans District 5 Deputy District Director. Just a couple of announcements. The first one is our fiscal year 25-26 Sustainable Communities Grant Guide is out for public comment. And so we would like to be able to let you guys know that it's out for review. We're going to be having some workshops in early October. And so that's an opportunity to look at the grant program. One notable change in our strategic partnerships grants is that the transit category, transit agencies are now able to apply as a primary applicant. In previous grant cycles, they've only been able to apply as a sub. So that's a pretty big shift in our grant guidance, but we will be having workshops and we'll be sending that information out via press release here in the near future. Wanted to let you know in August, early August, we had some work on Regent Slide that was halted. Crews started to notice surface cracking at several points around the slide and showing continued activity, so we halted work. And as of yet, there's no current indication of a new timeline related to the Highway 1 Regent Slide. So wanted to give you an update that if you've noticed that work is halted, that is why there is ongoing activity on the slide. And then the Rocky Creek project continues to make progress. The construction of the emergency repairs are ongoing and crews are targeting a summer 2025 to complete the emergency repairs for the Rocky Creek slip out. And that is all I have to report today. I can entertain any questions.
All right, we'll save the questions for the end. I'm going to go to Monterey Peninsula Airport. I don't know if we've still got Carl Miller with us. Carl, you're muted if you're with us. All right, well, remember to fly Monterey. It's a beautiful airport. Carl Sadorek, anything else to add?
I will be flying Monterey right after this meeting, so I'm glad we're finishing up at 11:30 and thank everyone for their thoughtful and kind words about our project and the
I'm here.
ask.
We'll come back to you, Carl.
Okay, sorry.
With that, though, just coming up Labor Day weekend, this next weekend, we have a number of changes. Trolley season comes to a sad conclusion, but we had a very productive year. People continue to love that. We hope to continue and grow that service outside of the summer season as we were, up until 2019. We will also, though, start beginning August 26th, services, the line 25 Salinas to CSUMB direct service resumes with school starting up again, as well as the line 47 in Salinas that connects the Hartnell main campus to the Hartnell LSL campus. Starting on Saturday, August 31st, there will be some significant changes to routing in and around the Carmel area and around for our route serving Watsonville from into North Monterey County. We're having some routing changes. This is due to traffic issues and safety issues. We're also our line 84 service going into Paso Robles. We're having to discontinue serving the community of Bradley due to the current road conditions. Won't support a bus to operate safely through that area. In addition to that, some good news that occurred while you all were on summer break. MST received just a little less than $500,000 to begin our next bus rapid transit planning study, which will start for the LSL corridor in Salinas. It will also include looking at new locations for the Salinas Transit Center to hopefully somewhere be fit along that major corridor for us. And we want to thank the city of Salinas as well as Taylor Farms, who are committed to providing some local match to that program. In case you haven't heard, I was asked to collect after the end of this meeting.
Talk to John.
Okay, thank you. But good to go. Yeah. So good stuff happening there. Thank you.
We'll go back to Carl Miller.
Hi, sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. All's well at the airport. We are continuing with our construction project. We hope to go out to bid on the new terminal before the end of the year, sometime around year end, with a target of 18 months for it to be completed at the most. So, and we just added new service to Minneapolis, 737s flying in twice a week, configured for about 180 plus passengers. So we still have the ramp project that we're working on, the new parking lot, and then we'll be starting soon on the taxiways. All total, probably $190 million to do everything at the airport.
Thank you, Carl. We're going to go to David Frisbee, celebrating the 50th year of MBAR.
Yes, 50th year. Thank you. We're currently running our electric vehicle incentive program that provides $1,500 for an incentive to purchase a all electric vehicle. We're also our motor vehicle emission reduction grants are taking those to our board on October 16th, taking those recommendations for projects for medium duty fleet electrification and other transportation projects. We've got a zero emission school bus program that's launching next week. We have $2 million in DMV fees that we're using towards purchasing zero emission school buses for local school districts. Got our community air protection program, which is currently running, which provides grants for off and on-road projects to reduce emissions in low-income and disadvantaged communities. And we've got our DC fast charge project that's being installed, breaking ground in the next month or two at 1463 North Davis Road in Salinas. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, David. Any questions or comments from Let's go to our partners. All right, hearing none. Any other comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment, bring it back. Just one quick comment to our friends at MST. I'm gonna ask them not to, I know they're not in the room, but there's a recording happening, so you guys can help me pass this along, and that's to not repurpose the funds used for that Bradley line, because I know I saw Enriquez over there, I was on there with us from county as well, and one of the things we've worked on is using the jock process to fix that intersection that's been affected by buses. So that's on a speedy delivery, should be done by this fall. And so with that completion, hopefully we can resume those services. Thank you. All right, with that done,
I
let's.
was looking at you earlier.
I know, I got feel it right here. So with that, I'm gonna proceed here to reports on meetings attended by board members at TAMC expense.
Yes, I attended the Coast Rail Coordinated Council meeting from 8/22 to 8/23 down in San Luis Obispo. And thank you, Ms. Guter, for getting us there and back safely.
Anyone else?
I was at the same meeting.
All right, thank you, Dave. Any public comment? Seeing none on that, we'll go ahead and close item 8 and proceed to the executive director's report.
Right, thank you. I want to start our report by acknowledging Dave Delfino, which this is his last board meeting. He is retiring next week after working 23 and a half years at TAMC. So I just want to acknowledge Dave and his years of dedication to the ABC. And I personally will miss having him in the office. So celebrating his retirement. And then I'll move on to the rest of my report. It's been a while since our June 26th meeting, so just I am going to come back to a few things that happened, and one of them is we received a $2.25 million grant for planning on the Highway 1 Elkhorn Slough corridor climate study. So Alyssa is working on that and working with our partners on that important corridor. We will be working on grant applications for State Route 68 Salinas to Monterey corridor and State Route 156 Castroville Boulevard project. Both of those projects are ready to apply for construction funding, so we're going to be putting in some major grant applications that you'll be seeing in the near future. They're due in November. We successfully hosted the June Health and Transportation Commission meeting, and the chair mentioned the bus tour that we were able to provide, and that was the real benefit of hosting the meeting, is to get commissioners in town to see our projects, and we had almost a 4-hour bus ride showing projects, and had some exciting moments on the bus where they realized that yes, we have some major safety problems that we need to resolve. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
All right.
We'll give Dave Delfino a round of applause on his retirement.
My favorite byline working for TAMC is learn something new every day. It's been a great experience. That's all I can say. It's been great seeing government in action like this, where you always get things done. It's been a real good journey working here. I really enjoyed it. And Jeff and Mara, you guys are gonna take it to higher heights of the financial. I know.
Hey, do you have any announcements or comment? Actually, let me go back to the executive director's report. Any public comment on this? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment and include that item. Announcements and or comments from the TAMC members on matters they wish to put on future agency agendas. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed to closed session. This is now an opportunity for public comment on our closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 5495 6.8. We're going to come forward with real property negotiators concerning the disposition of agency-owned property. Is there any public comment on this item? I see no one in room. I do see a hand up via Zoom. David, John Brun, we'll give you the floor. 2 minutes. Oh, no, I bet it's
Thank you. David Schoenbrunn, Vice President of the Train Riders Association of California. As you might gather, we're very sensitive to anything that speaks about Monterey branch line and real property negotiations and disposition. I work in a law firm that does a lot of Brown Act work, and I find that this agenda item is it's confusing and unclear. It's unclear how length of contract could relate to anything having to do with disposition. Is it possible to get any kind of clarification for you as to what actually will be discussed in closed session? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schonbrun. Any other public comment? Hearing none, I'll bring it back and see if council wishes to respond to the public comment received.
I'm not prepared to give a long explanation other than that there's an existing lease agreement between this agency and the city of Marina, and we're going to be discussing the terms of that and what may result. So that's, I think, as much as I can go into.
All right. With that, we're now going into closed session. Gonna ask all those partners who know they don't join us for that to step away. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you all in a few.
So Aaron's gonna create a breakout room for take the vice chair. Yeah, take flowers. So like. I'll be sure. So. They retire. Your marriage. That goes for 25 hours. Yeah.
I would like to ask.
The city days. I didn't really get out. I think.
Yeah.
Stay.
There's not.
I think they were. I think so.